Welcome back to the Creative Process Podcast. This is episode 14 of season 3. Obviously, you can see that we have a guest on today, but we will get into Mark very shortly here. I want to, first off, thank the people that come back week in and week out and listen to the podcast and also supply some feedback as well. That's awesome. Whenever the podcast Twitter or my personal Twitter gets some, feedback from the people that listen, or even just say, hey, listen to the episode today. It was an awesome one. It's always nice to hear that, and always get input from people that are taking in the content. So thank you for that. But also I want to say the CP collab number 3 is out. I mentioned this early in the beginning of the last podcast, but this podcast will be going up in that whole kind of still time frame while CP Collab 3 is also up. So if you go on the Twitter will be down below for the podcast. Go on the Twitter. Just scroll down a little bit in the media. You'll find CP Collab 3. It's for Robert Lewandowski this week, or not this week, for like this, 2-3 weeks, however active it is. But there's a timeline on it. The next one will be coming out September 14th. Obviously, it'll still be on the Twitter after the 14th, but like I said last episode, if you want to do them sequentially before the 14th, would be your goal. So anyways, I wanted to get that out there a little bit, and make sure people are knowing about that, because it's always cool to see what people come up with, and see, just based off of the limited assets that are supplied, see how many different directions people can go in as well. That's always very, very intriguing. But anyways, Mark, awesome to have you on. We were chatting a little bit before the podcast, but awesome to have you on. Been waiting to get this. My goal is to get everyone in 0G on the podcast. So my last one to do is Ashley, right? I think that's awesome. Her name. Ashley. Yeah. Yes, yeah. I'm not wrong.
Ashley Cash. She's the best.
Yeah, so she's my last one from 0G. I had Sammy on a while ago. Nice. Same with Brandon was super early. Nice. Brian was, I think he was in this season, and I think Dan was as well. But yeah, awesome conversations with everyone in the team so far. So this is, I'm hyped for this. I'm very excited.
Cool, man. Me too. Listen, if you're looking to get design tips and tricks, you're gonna get it from those guys, because I don't have those guys run laps around me, so they're the best, and they I mean, those guys have set the standard for I can't even tell you how many years. So it's just cool to be a part of their team. Yeah,
for sure. It's awesome. It's awesome to see, like, especially what you guys are doing. I mean, we'll get into 0G a little bit as the podcast goes on, but just see what you guys are doing, especially for the community. Your Zoom that you had a couple weeks ago talking about, everything you guys talked about. And do you guys have that linked anywhere?
You know what? I actually don't think we do, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I know we recorded it, so that's a good reminder. We definitely would like to get that out there, and then we're talking about, hopefully doing another one here soon. So it's something we'll probably, at some point link on the website and put it out on social. But that's a great. We kind of get all caught up in both our, and we again we'll talk about it, but I have my full-time job and they also have their own clients stuff, so we kind of always get bogged down a little bit. But a great reminder, so we'll get that out there for sure for those that weren't able to come to it.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. I guess it was it was a yeah, because I was remembering if you guys recorded it or not, but that's okay. You guys did. Okay. Awesome. But anyways, yeah. How about for the people that don't know who you are, kind of give a little, whether baseline intro or go as deep as you want for the people that want to, I guess, meet Mark to put it in a way.
Yeah, well, first off, Jared, appreciate you having me on. And I think, since we've been kind of chatting, I've, taken a look at just some of what you've been able to accomplish here just through this, platform and everything else. I think it's awesome what you're doing, like super motivated. And I give you kudos for all that you're doing and trying to just make the community a better place. I mean, there's any time that I think these conversations are able to have, however it may be, I think it's just super helpful. So, keep doing what you're doing. I applaud your efforts. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it's great. So, yeah, my name is Mark Majewski. I am a creative director for the Boston Bruins and TD Garden. Kind of a unique situation where I'm technically like 50% with the Bruins, 50% with the Garden. And some days that's not the case, where it's 100% one side or 100% the other. It's kind of cool because certainly no day looks alike when you're kind of working both with an original six brand, but also a lot of the initiatives and efforts that the garden has to offer, whether there's a concert coming through or there's some, we're putting together some collateral for a charity event. There's always something going on, which is really, really cool. So I'm heading in here into my fourth year, which is crazy. I started with the Bruins just after they lost. As many people probably don't want to be reminded of it, at least the Bruins fans anyway, after losing Game 7 of the Cup to the Blues. And I started literally that season after. So I came in at kind of a funky time with the team. There was a lot of transition with the organization, moving into planning building a new office, which we just moved into. So I came in at a different, interesting time, and then the pandemic happened. So last year was a little bit more normal, but this year I'm very excited for it. Is it's going to be just hopefully feeling really back to normal. With the team, the players, the fans, everything. And then the year after that, the 23-24 season, is the Bruins' 100-year centennial. They'll be the first NHL team to celebrate their 100 years, and we're already getting going on that. We're working with some really high level names on that branding, and I can't wait for that to be unveiled here, which would be really, really cool. So this is my fourth season with the Bruins. Before that, I've worked in college athletics, essentially. As we were talking before, I started off more on kind of the PR SID side, but my career has taken me to places like I was working at Clemson before here with the Bruins, and I was fortunate enough to run their social media for the football program and the athletics department as a whole, or at least help be a part of it. Got to be part of a national championship run, which is something I'll never forget. And worked with to this day, some of the best creators, that have really elevated the game to a whole different level. And that was kind of my full transition into design and social and creative. Before that, I was the hockey PR guy for Boston College 5 years and Northeastern University, which is just behind me where I'm sitting right now. As I can see the Fenway lights. I don't know who they're playing today, but as we're sitting here in Boston. So I've been in Boston here since about 2009, and then had a few other stops before that. But that's kind of the biggest chunk here. As I've been in Boston since 2009, except for that 1 year at Clemson. It was a quick little pit stop, but we're back here, and we're ready to roll, ready to get this season. I can't believe it's like what's today? It's about just over a month away with regular season, so ready to get things going.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask how long you've been a hockey guy. Like, did you play hockey? I can't remember if you said that before we started recording.
I can't stop, so no, I never played organized hockey. I've always been around the game, though. Born in Buffalo, New York. Lived in Massachusetts as a kid and moved to Michigan when I was in 8th grade. And so I've always been in some, hockey hotbeds, and every kid I knew, played hockey growing up. So I never played organized hockey. I was more of the lazy man sports, like a bowler and golfer, like one of those guys. So
lazy man sports league. I've never heard that.
Exactly. My friends call me the king of lazy man sports, depending on the day. But yeah, I played like baseball and played lacrosse in high school, but never did play hockey. But I've always been around it, and seemingly it's kind of always followed most of my career where I've gone. And it's a really great, cool community to be a part of, because it's pretty niche, it's pretty small. And I kind of like that fraternity of just a small knit group, whether it's in college hockey, which is even smaller, but college hockey is a great game that'll, I'm not going to say a lot of people don't know about, but it's, obviously doesn't get the spotlight that college football or college basketball does, but really, really cool to be part of that community. And it's translated into, some of my work, here in the NHL and stuff. So it's weird. It's weird because the NHL necessarily doesn't get the shine that some of the other sports do, but we're doing our best to change that, and some days are better than others, but it's a cool community to be a part of regardless.
Awesome. Yeah, I see, like, what's his name? Joe, I think his name's Joe Johnson. Maybe, sure. If that rings a bell. I think he works for San Jose. Is that the
Jeff Rose?
Jeff Rose. Okay.
He used to work. He was working for the Sharks. He worked for the Sharks and the Panthers a bit.
Yeah,
awesome. He does awesome work. I think he's independent now. But yeah, he's someone that came in and really changed the game. Did awesome work. So
I need to look up. For some reason, I don't know why. Oh, I'm on the wrong account. I don't know why Because does Joe Johnson, Joe Johnson. Okay.
So Joe worked at Florida State for a while, and then worked at was a big Florida State fan I know, and then worked at South Carolina for a while. He and Jeff together at South Carolina for a while. That might be why you have it confused, I believe.
I think that is why I have them confused.
Both super talented though.
Yeah, both of them are insane at what they do. Okay, yeah. That's why I got it confused.
There you go.
Okay, my bad to the two of those guys.
Okay, it's probably not the first time that's happened.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so let's actually jump right into something that you suggested a little bit before the podcast. Since you've had experience working in collegiate and professional, what was the transition like going into, from collegiate to professional? Granted, your role kind of, I guess, changed a little bit, but I guess pacing, everything like that.
Yeah, I can definitely go into that. Yeah, the role is very different for a variety of reasons. Honestly, like, I really think a good podcast topic, for anyone is honestly for people that have worked in both the college and the pros. I don't know if Brian's worked for a professional team. I know he's done work like for the Kraken and things like that, but I know he used to work at Washington and designed, for pro sports, uniforms and things. It's very different, Jared. It's I'm telling you, I'd love to get like a panel of people. I know like Alina Rogers is one who works for the Canucks now, and she worked at Utah basketball for a while. So, because her and I, we talk a lot, and we've shared some, some horror stories and some success stories and everything in between. So, for me, it was, I'll be honest, in full transparency, I share this often. It was a difficult transition. I worked in college athletics for a long time, and I was fortunate to be at some places, Clemson, even though I was there for a very short amount of time, creative was highly valued there. It was put on the forefront. There was buy-in from the president of the university. I mean, I've had conversations. I mean, not many people can say that. Who was invested in what we did, down to the athletic director, it was Dan Radakovich at the time, all the way down through the coaches had, fully invested in what we did and knew what we were able to bring value to their programs. And Dabo Sweeney, I didn't have a very close relationship with him, but I had a very close relationship with his staff and most importantly, the student athletes. And he knew that, we were able to help shed a light on his program and tell the stories and reach recruits we tried to do so in a unique way that many others didn't. And very personal stuff where we did the vlog and we'd be out there. I wasn't necessarily the one with the camera, but the folks I worked with and Creative Solutions would be out there in the 50-yard line after a win, getting a vlog rig and Trevor Lawrence's or Hunter Renfro's face and, doing this with the crowd and just telling the story, from the first vantage point as humanly possible. And that was awesome to see and awesome to be a part of. And not to go too, I could go on this for hours, so I'll try and explain it a bit. Switching to the pros, you just don't have that kind of access. And it could be different from the Bruins where it is other places, but I mean, it's even almost like kind of a collective bargaining thing. So the only time I'm personally with the team mostly is basically with our media days. We have like a 2, sometimes 3-day shoot at some different location. And that I'm usually kind of helping direct those shoots to the direction of what style we want to look for that year. And those are great times, great days, but like that's about it. Whereas I was sitting and having lunch with, the long snapper, when I was at Clemson, or when I was at Boston College, I was on the bus or on the plane traveling with those guys and really getting to know them. So the difference is that in those places I just mentioned, like I was also in charge of running the social and kind of doing both the creative and the social at the same time. With the Bruins, we have our communications, our PR staff handles that. So I have a very good, close relationship with those folks, but they're the ones that are kind of responsible for just keeping me in the loop, saying that XYZ is coming down the pipe. Let's have those things ready. Whereas kind of before that, I was doing that investigative work on my own just by being present, if you will. I'll tell you, I miss that. I miss that a lot, I personally think that at least for me, my story, that working in college athletics was a little bit more fulfilling. Bruins is a very corporate gig, and I have no problem. I would tell that to anyone I work with. I've probably said it too many times, honestly. Having said that, and this is something that we kind of have spoken to or alluded about. I think we probably touched upon in that little town hall we had with Zero G. Like, my work life balance is much better with the Bruins, man. If I wanted to be a 9 to 5, I could. I don't necessarily operate like that, just because I'm still not used to it. But I don't have to be at games, which is kind of nice. But it's both a blessing and a curse, right? Sometimes I don't feel like I'm really truly part of the team, which is kind of why I work in sports. I've played sports growing up, despite it being bowling or golf. I did play other sports, but like I kind of miss that aspect, right? But at the same time, I'm 40 years old. I'd like to have a life outside of work. I think that's what a lot of people. I think this pandemic showed a lot of people that. And that's something I'm very grateful for with the Bruins, and it's why I've been there as long as I have, because I'm kind of able to. I'll never forget this story. I remember when I was working at Boston College, whatever year, 2016, 17, 18, whatever. It was probably middle of February. I remember I'm PR, but I'm still doing design. I'm making copies of our game notes or whatever. And some girl I was working with was in the office, and I looked at her. It was like 3:00 on like Saturday afternoon. And this is kind of a depressing story, but it's true. And I said to her, I was like, it's really sad. I said, if I wasn't here making these, copying these notes at 3:00 on a Saturday, I have no idea what else I would be doing. And it was kind of like a bit of a wake-up call, in a sense, from like, this is like your life is dictated by your job. And some people like that. And I think some people I work with to this day would still think that that's the case. Because I am a bit of a workaholic, and I don't say that with pride. I say that as kind of I'm pretty bad at shutting things off. I feel like a lot of creatives are, just because of our nature, But it was kind of like like there's things outside of this, right? And I've been very fortunate to be put in a situation where it was. I came into a situation where creative was still very much on the outside of the process. And social was not necessarily from what I could tell anyways, a priority in what was being done. There's a lot more like digital emails and print work, and all those things are stuff I still do to this day and still very important to what we do. But social design and that type of content is what I specialize in, and felt I could make the biggest impression or improvement, if you will. And to this day, it's still something that I'm trying to make better every day. And that has been, to me, one of the biggest challenges, just from a time management standpoint, is getting all of the other things done while also trying to keep our social presence where I think it needs to be. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Again, I could go on. I think the difference between college and pro is just such an interesting conversation. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer to your question there, but it's I think it's an important one to be had. Sure.
Yeah, I feel like the main, like, I guess to like put it in a nutshell based off of what I've been hearing is like, obviously professional is professional. There's more of an organization behind it. There's more of a, like, it's a company, like they're there with, like, it's, you got to make, like, there's different things that are considered when it's a company and an organization that's, independent in a way, independent compared to collegiate, to where that's an athletics department. That's like a branch of the university, to where obviously you want that branch of the athletic department to do well, but it's not as important as if you're running a professional organization that's, that has all that connection to it. So I mean, honestly, in a way, it could be like saying, what was different between working in college and in the professional. There's like an obvious, like, no duh type of scenario there, but there's also something like where, I guess, from a creative standpoint is probably, the main thing. It's like, obviously it's going to be a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more well, collegiate, you're going to have more responsibilities, to where professional, there's more of a budget. Obviously, there's more of,
Sure.
people to be employed to cover some things that you had to do when you were employed with Clemson.
Yeah.
So,
But,
yeah. Also, you probably saw that pop up right here on Zoom.
yep.
That
Yep.
happens. It's a little unfortunate, but it's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, when that happens, the people listening know about this all the time. It happens all the time on Zoom. So
They know when the time pop up. When
yeah,
it comes up.
yeah.
It's a little part of the. It's built part of the brand of the podcast. I love it.
Yeah.
Don't
So
change it.
so
The fans are used to it.
so they know, like, that's when, like, it's like universal break time. So
I love that. That's cool.
So yeah, getting into kind of, we touched on it a little bit at the end of that conversation when it was coming to the end. You talked about your work-life balance, especially now with like what you do with 0G. I guess first off, maybe give a little intro on what 0G is, and then honestly, I don't know for a fact like what your I don't think I've ever asked anyone like what your responsibility within 0G is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could go into that kind of before we're kind of kicked off Zoom, and then we can kind of get on the rails again when we get back.
Yeah. 0G, is something that it's just such a, I don't want to say that it's like something that's never been done before. There's definitely been, I guess, agencies or people that have joined forces before.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is unique in itself, just due to the people that are involved. If any of them end up listening, I hope that they do. They get super mad at me when I say, like, from like a talent standpoint, I don't belong in the same breath as those folks. I mean, hell, Brian Gundell's designing the freaking Padres uniforms. Like, if you asked me to design an MLB uniform, I'd be like, can I do it in like InDesign? I wouldn't even know where to start, right? Like Sammy, I think we all know what Sammy Silverman's capable of. The dude is just, despite his Ohio State allegiances, which I'm not the biggest fan of.
Mm-hmm. Obviously.
He
I'm from Wisconsin, so you already know what my taste is towards that too.
Man,
so.
that's what I like to hear. Yeah. But I mean, Sammy's been setting the bar for a long, long time. I think anyone that's been in the sports design community could point to Sam Silverman and be like, he's that dude. It's plain and simple. He thinks differently. He creates on a level that is just, I think we were talking before, I wouldn't even know where to start. Every single thing he does, I'm like, God damn you, because it's incredible. The dude's incredible. And I say the same thing about Dan Beltran, who is, who's been just, he's one of the people that has made the transition to the freelance world and just done insanely well for himself, and is kind of a household name in our community, and does amazing work.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley McCaffrey, I know you said she's the last white whale of 0G, if you will. She is also someone that she pushes the envelope in ways that like very few people do. She's extremely artistic and brings in that tactile thought to digital design, and it's just something that, like, you want to talk about inspiration. I mean, she does things that are so, like, I wouldn't even think to bring in. She does incredible work. And Brandon Moore is someone I didn't really know personally until this all started, and he's someone that, out of us all, he to me is he is a true creative director. My title is director of creative services. I don't personally view myself as a creative director. Like, that dude, what he does with brands and his conceptualization and type and hierarchy, like, he's one of the best. I mean, he's incredible. And I'll give him a plug any day. If you're looking to build a brand, you go to Brandon Moore, man. That dude's, he knows what's up. And this all kind of started, I was furloughed during the pandemic. I don't even know how long Brian Gundell and I have been talking, but we've always been, friendly through social media, and have talked and bounced ideas off each other's here and there. And he floated this idea out probably almost 2 years ago now. That time frame might be a little iffy, but yeah, and I was thinking about going freelance myself, if we're being honest. and was part of the reason that this was all very attractive to me. It's kind of like a nice little, oh, well, this could really solidify that. And
For sure.
me personally, so I'm the only one that is still employed by an organization. Everyone else, all 5 of them, are in business for themselves. They try and push me every day. It's kind of like a running joke. Um, I'm just personally not ready for it for a couple reasons. And hopefully this speaks to the crowd. Like I think there's a lot of folks that have gone off on their own to do their own thing, whether it's Matt Lang or Jeff Rose and Joe Johnson. A lot of folks have gone off on their own and done their own thing, and I think that is amazing. I think it's great for creativity because you're working with so many different things, and there's just so many opportunities and such a need out there. And for me, I'm really not. I think what a lot of folks might not understand is like you need a little bit of business savvy, and I'm just not there yet. And I'm lucky enough to be in a position right now where I have enough time, free time, that I am able to do some side work if need be. And there's a lot of jobs that don't have that wiggle room. And there are some times where like might not be able to be present. And frankly, in terms of some of the clients and the client work that we have done, I haven't been as involved in the hands-on, and we're kind of at a stage right now where we're trying to figure out what that all looks like. But it's some of the clients that have been done in we worked with the past and are working with now. I think I'm able to, like right now, Zero G is working with USC football, and some of the stuff that they've put together for them is, I mean, I love being part of the group just because I sit back and I'm in awe. Like I'm not trying to like blow smoke up everyone's ass, but I mean, I will just because it's deserved. I mean,
I was gonna say credit where it's supposed to be.
No doubt. There's what they do is incredible, and they did some work with Duke with Duke men's basketball and Coach K's final year, and Brandon Moore did an awesome wordmark suite for Coach K, and all the awesome storybook and things like that. So some of the clients that they have, I think it's right on the edge of really breaking through. And it's just been kind of cool to see. So it's just a group of creators that have all kind of a unique skill set. And, when you put those powers together, I think you're really able to, I mean, there's some things that I'm better at, some things than others, but not many of them. Mostly, from any animation standpoint, Sammy again is amazing and kills it. Me and Sammy probably do the most animation. Ashley's capable as well. It's something like if you got Gundle back in, he's like, I'm not touching that shit, and he just says, why he doesn't need to. That dude's too talented in other things. But we kind of just have if you like put like our bars of talent next to specific Adobe buttons, like it kind of all balances out, and it's really really cool to see. It's a special group for sure.
Yeah, I was going to kind of get into that a little bit. That's definitely what we're going to be I'm going to bring up, or I want to ask about. But I see we have about a minute and a half here until this closes down. So we'll use this time here to kind of take a little hiatus. If you want to go get some water, go refill, go to the bathroom, whatever you got to do. And then when this closes down, I'll just resend the link, and we'll be good to go. Sound all right?
Awesome. I'll see you in a sec.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
All right, we're back.
We are back.
Yeah, I'm so like for like I always give the option like Zoom, Discord, Google Meets, whatever the situation is. But
yeah,
so I have a Discord server for the podcast, right? And it like this, like to have the calls here. I'm just trying to find a better solution for this.
Sure.
So it's.
I didn't even think about I always forget about the 40-minute thing with Zoom. I should have. That's my bad, but it sounds like it's happened before. So
yeah, it's been like a new update as of like a month ago. So like it never used to happen. Like when I used to record with Zoom back when I first started the podcast, it would never.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I have to get like a what's like a premium Zoom account or something.
Yeah, perhaps.
But okay, so let's jump back in. We were talking about Zero G and the team as a whole. I slightly forgot if you can remember what I was talking about before we left.
I was just basically, I think we were just talking about what it is, and I was kind of going through just kind of whatever, basically the team as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh yes, I remember what I was gonna kind of go into. Okay. All right, we are back. I suppose. Stupid Zoom all the time. Yeah. So kind of piggybacking on where we were. Zero G. I was very curious, like what the responsibilities and everything were. I figured, like, there wouldn't be a team of what, 6 of you guys if you guys didn't, complement each other in a way and kind of
Yeah.
fill gaps where things would be. So I'm actually really curious, like what you kind of take care of. Like if let's say a client comes in, like are people assigned to the certain project, like based off their needs? You're like, okay, this person and that person are going to be able to hit this, or does everyone else kind of, do you guys all kind
Yeah.
of work
It kind
together on
of,
things, or?
yeah, it kind of, the client is, we have an inquiry thing on our website that, we check. But oftentimes I'd say more often than not, so probably maybe 30-40% of those, inquiries come that way. But a lot of it is something where one of the individuals will be approached by someone, and it, a light bulb will go off like that sounds like probably more suitable for zero G. And if it's a, I don't know, if it's like a one-off sort of project, that might make more sense for someone just kind of individually handle on their own, for their business or whatever. But if it's like a holistic package where someone's looking for a whole season of collateral or type design
Mm-hmm.
or anything like the, I guess the really unique, awesome thing about zero G is that there's really nothing that can't be done within the group. So we use, so to get into the nitty gritty, we are talking on Slack. We use Slack very often, all the time, all 6 of us. And Ashley just recently kind of brought Miro into the mix, which I don't know if you've ever seen that or used it, but it's a really cool
Mm-mm.
platform. It's
Okay.
really good for collaborators that are working remote. It's kind of I've never really seen anything like it. It's basically like kind of an app, a website or an app widget that you can kind of just post a bunch of stuff and notes and projects and kind of all pull and share and drag and drop. It's really, really cool, really intuitive. And it's been pretty helpful. So we can have all of our clients or projects and individual rows or buckets, and kind of everyone's able to see what's going on from there. But
Awesome.
yeah, like for USC, Dan, Brian, Sammy, and Ashley all went out to LA. I think it was during the playoffs for me. It was going to be hard for me to make it, and I know Brandon, he wasn't able to make it either. So those 4 essentially went out there, met with a lot of the staff, really tried to get a grasp for, once Lincoln Riley came in, what direction of the program he wanted to take it
Mm-hmm.
toward campus, and just gain a lot of inspiration just by being there, right? It's really hard to do just by Googling stuff, right? Really,
Mm-hmm.
I think the USC is, once a lot of this stuff starts rolling out soon, you know, you'll really see what the capabilities of zero GR. It's so awesome what they were able to put together. Just because it was, from travel to informational interviews in person, to constant contact and with the staff there, even after that, to building out art boards and key art and things that are being now provided to the USC staff, and they're kind of taking a lot of what Zero G has done and putting their own inspiration on, which I actually think is really, this is a very recent development where, um, they've taken a lot of the templates or things that have been built out and utilizing a lot of the assets and the fonts that they deemed appropriate for to move forward, and have taken their own spin on it. It's really cool to kind of see that evolve. And it's like, we're unfortunately we're the only ones privy to know that or see that, just because
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of behind the scenes on it and helping them just kind of take our direction and run with it. And that was kind of the whole goal, and it's been really, really cool to see. So basically, if one of us is approached, generally it will be brought to the group, and we'll say like, hey, is this something that you guys want to be in park, and who has time, who has the bandwidth. Oftentimes, like, I don't. So I've been trying to, once we get a lot of our case studies built out, we're going to try and be a lot more present on social, and kind of revamp our website. And Brian does a lot of our web work because he's incredible with that stuff. And yeah, I think here in the next year or so, I think it's we'll hopefully try and be more active. We've just been kind of trying to get our feet wet and fit, it's crazy that it's been over a year now since this group's been formed, but it's been kind of a listen, man, like 6 people in literally almost every part of the country. You got 2 in Florida, 1 in Boston, 1 in Columbus, 1 in just outside of Nashville, 1 in freaking California. So we've got almost every time zone taken care of. So, getting on the same page and meeting stuff is always kind of a challenge just because time differences and things like that. But it seemed to have worked so far, and I think it's only kind of trending up in order to go but up right now.
So cool. Is there like a like I know you said usually someone would like the majority of the inquiries someone reach out to like one of the people and then it's brought to the group. Would that person head the communication, or would everyone kind of like, do you have like a one person that kind of sticks with the communication side, or just the person that they reached out to?
Great question. Yes. Brian Brian is kind of our client facing what's the best word?
Rep?
Brian, yeah, he's kind of like the spokesman in a sense. He taught. I mean, the way he handles and deals with clients is I sure as hell couldn't do it. He's very good. He's direct. He explains things very well, and is just personal in that sense. So, yeah, like say, I've had people I've worked with in the past have asked me like, and I've brought things to the table. So I would probably be that conduit to that person. But yeah, like generally, Brian is kind of our default person to speak with a client. But if not, like if someone brought someone else in that they had a connection with, it would probably be that person. So, it's not territorial at all. Like it's kind of whatever seems to work best in that situation is kind of what we roll with,
For sure.
and that seemed to have worked best so far.
Is it like, I want to say it's, at least based off what you told me, it's pretty much like dependent on what the client is looking for, and then you kind of have the people that obviously are proficient in the areas that can succeed at filling the needs there. So
yeah, like right now we're working with a client that's looking for like a unique typeface and word mark. That is not my wheelhouse. I wish it were, trust me, because it's boy has had a skill set that bringing a hell of a lot of money. But that's kind of what Brian's working on right now. That's his right in his wheelhouse.
mm-hmm.
So he's the one right now that's kind of focusing on that part. And as we develop out that client and now have a brand that we have built for them, then we will take that in and and hopefully all have hands on it here moving forward. So yeah, it's kind of depends what stage it's at, right?
Right.
So that's just kind of one of the examples we're kind of dealing with right now, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I was just curious on like the workflow and everything.
Sure. No, it's a great question.
I had an idea, but since like the people that are within the group that has been established, like there's a lot of strong individuals, with what they're I guess good at, so I could have guessed it, but I was I was very curious how that worked out.
Oh, it's a great question.
Especially now, like since I've been in the industry, I haven't really seen a lot of groups like this form. So like when you said earlier, like this type of thing hasn't happened before, at least based off of what I've seen, like I guess to put it lightly, 6 juggernauts of the sports creative industry joining together and supplying services, like that's only like that. I haven't seen anything like that happen before.
Sure.
So
yeah. Well, so I'll be honest with you. Like I'm comfortable sharing this with all of them as we're pretty open with all of each other. Like I was a bit on the fence about it because I just wasn't sure or ready to commit to the full-time freelance, and obviously I still haven't. But knowing. When it was brought to me in the idea of it, I'm like, this is going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to share resources and tips with, and just blow off steam and bullshit, honestly, with people that have been through the trenches and really understand it is super. It's just, it's good for your mental well-being too, again, I view them all as much more proficient designers than myself. They'll again get pissed at me for saying that, but I that's how I view them. I think that we're all hard on ourselves, right? I'm really hard on myself, but they're what they're capable of is incredible, and just 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 being able to kind of see how they all do things individually and come collaborate as a group is just it's been really cool to see. Yeah, it's been hard for me to really kind of dig in. I've worked on one client that was it was kind of our first one, um, and it's not that we didn't know. Well, I guess yeah. At that time, we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really know what we were looking for. We didn't really know what type of client we wanted to get involved with, and we kind of learned a couple months in that wasn't really like we had like budgeted hours to work for the week, and it didn't mesh with what we I think wanted to do as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really honestly one of my cliche things I always say is you got to find out what you don't like before you find out what you do. And it wasn't anything against the client. It was just we were trying to figure out what the deal was, and it just didn't really work with us. And they were small. It was like a youth organization. I don't necessarily want to reveal their name just yet, but because they were fine, great to work with. It didn't work with us. So I think we now know that like I think there's no denying that Zero G is definitely trying to get some bigger clients. And not necessarily, I mean, hell, it doesn't even have to be in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's obviously kind of our niche and our wheelhouse. But like, hey, if Nike came to us, let's LFG. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? I think that those folks are, I think to an extent, everyone's talented enough to do something like that. And yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of seeing what happens, and I think we want to be a little bit more aggressive in pitching and trying to sell ourselves. So right now we're kind of in the depths of reworking our website and just kind of now that we actually have some working case studies, building those things out and be able to showcase what we're capable of.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So
Yeah.
to kind of move back a little bit based on topic wise what we've talked about, to kind of finish this off,
Mm-hmm.
going back on the sports industry.
Mm-hmm.
Since you've been in it for a while now, and now working freelance in it a little bit more, and then obviously carrying your career on forward, what do you see about the sports industry that needs to improve, or can improve, or has room to kind of in that sense? It's a very
So
open-ended question I ask.
yeah, I know, and I know you said we would chat about this, and I appreciate that. It's always helpful getting those questions. I've been trying to think about it all day, and man, Jared, changes by the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I think what really is something that I'm kind of I don't like to use the word disappointed, but well, but what I'll say is that when when I first started working at Northeastern in like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking. I don't like to say we're talking 13 years ago. We're talking freaking 13 years ago. You were 6 years old when I was working at Northeastern, for Christ's sake. I, which is again, you want to talk about eye opening, but
You're only
um,
what? You said you're
I'm
only 40 though, right?
only 40. I listen. Every time I get out of bed, something else starts, dude. Just wait. I'm telling you, man.
You're only 40, man. Come on.
Start getting the random pains, dude. You'll know what I'm talking about. But so I I remember like specific aspects of creative. Like I just didn't know about creative at all. Like I'll, a funny thing, you'll find this really funny because I don't think it's really even part a topic of conversation in our industry now. Was when we were like redesigning our website, like what the sides of the website was like because social media was a thing, but it sure as hell wasn't like your primary like
Mm-hmm.
mode of communications. Like your website was kind of again dating myself here, but what your and I didn't even really understand what branding was at that time, but like that was kind of like what this is it, this is what we got, like
Mm-hmm.
so I remember like Ole Miss. I don't know why they sticks out, but I remember they had like these awesome, just like really well lit, well shot, high contrast, like just what every school you see now. I mean, D3 schools of just the studio shots of the blacked out visor, the highlighted, light boxed, studio shots that everyone does now. I mean, hell, 8-year-old soccer teams are doing it now. But like back then, that was like I was like, damn, like that looks odd. Like that just looks sick. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It was just something that not many folks were doing, and that's where like was kind of like my first thing where I saw. So those were to me, I think, at least in the digital age, at least in the web, and when social was kind of starting to become bubbling up as an important feature in your communication platform. We've been doing this for sports design has been a thing to this magnitude for a good amount of time now. And I guess good amount of time is kind of subjective, but like I would say since 2000. So I remember like moving a little bit forward, like media guide covers, like that was there was like media guide cover competitions. Like when I was in SID, I was in COSIDA, which is now rebranding, which is kind of funny, but it is the College Sports Information Directors of America, and they would have publication contests. So like your sports poster and your like football and basketball, whatever media guide cover, those were your two biggest pieces of sports branding design collateral. And there was like competitions, and I was always obsessed with them. And I was like, man, who's doing this? Like, there's a guy. I'd love to know that if people remember the name Buddy Overstreet. Have you heard the name Buddy Overstreet before?
No, no.
Okay, look him up. I'm telling you, like, if you look up Buddy Overstreet, Alabama football, he was like someone like when I was starting, probably your age, even maybe a couple years older. I'm actually going to do that as we speak. 'Cause I want to see what comes up. Like he was someone that,
I just searched it on Twitter. Is he on Twitter?
yeah, he doesn't tweet much anymore,
Is
but
he a
like
bald guy with a big beard?
yes, he sure is.
Okay.
So if you look at like if you just like Google him and like look at images, like you see kind of the stuff there, like that. I mean, his stuff holds up now. Like his stuff is sick. Like Buddy Overstreet is someone that I was one of the first people that I always looked to. I'm like, whatever this dude's doing, like it changed my whole perception on what it meant to represent a program. And now that Jonathan King has taken over him, I don't know if you know Jonathan King. If you never had him on the podcast, you should. Jonathan King's the shit. Good dude. I don't speak to him as much as I wish I did because he's super talented. But he's awesome. And Jonathan King is, I mean, he's one of the few that's kind of lasted this wave, right? And it kind of goes into, I guess, where we're at as an industry. And I think my whole point is we're
I do follow him, by the way. Sorry, I'm sorry to
oh, you're
interrupt you.
good. No, you're good. We're kind. I don't know. I don't know if you agree with me or not. And this isn't to put anybody down at all.
Mm-hmm.
What I think has happened is that we're kind of in this weird lull where there's so much freaking talent out there that it's almost hard to discern. Like it's starting to all kind of look the same, right? But
Mm.
it's all good. Like everything. Like back 5 years, 6 years ago, if you said Texas football, you would immediately think like Matt Lang and Tony Turnquist. Um, if you said Ohio State, but if you said Ohio State, you
Mm.
immediately think Sammy Silverman or Ken Stuffelbeam, who's no longer there. Like or if you LSU, you still think like someone like a Matt Turnquist or who's who is still there. But a lot of these people have ended up leaving. And for instance, I have a position to hire right now. 5 years ago, if I was looking to hire someone, I would have a list of 40 names that I would kill to work with. Right now, I don't. It's just it's not that there's not talent out there because there is a ton of talent. It's just I don't know. I think the pandemic set us back a little bit as a community and what our worth is, right? I really think we started to take off. I think we started to kind of get the respect you deserve. I think I just want to get this idea out there because this is what initially I thought when you asked the question is that I still cannot believe that we are not valued as highly as we should be. And I don't, sure, money is great. We all want to get our asses paid. That's the bottom line, right? But it's crazy to me how there's still a lot of whether it's a school, whether it's a team that listen. I don't want to throw my own team under the bus. Like creative, we are not at the forefront of a lot of our initiatives. It's driven by a lot of marketing, and we're kind of the last folks to be plugged into it. And I know that, and it's a process, right? I'm doing our best to change that. It takes a while. It's a little bit harder at the corporate level,
Do you
but
think?
it's
Sorry
yeah.
to
Go ahead.
interrupt. Do you
No,
think?
no,
Do you think it's because like this kind of stagnation is because how popular social media has come, and it's
yep.
always like
It's an echo chamber.
it's
It's
a
just
yeah it's
it,
always like with the trends or with not without the trends.
100%,
It's like
and it's
and setting those trends is a
1000%.
little bit
It's
tougher.
it's it's what's the euphemism or the cliche I'm looking for? It's like it's almost like I don't know, like it's a product of our own like success in a way where it's like
Mm.
it's all so visible now. It's very like I mean, we're constantly on our phone, we're constantly on Twitter, constantly on whatever. And it's like if you are in the sports design community, you have a social presence and you are representative of the team or brand that you work with. And like to a very almost probably you shouldn't be as visible as you are, but that's just how it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
you are responsible for what the consumer is taking in of that team. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a heavy burden, man. Like it's I like we were talking before, like I'm about the 3 week stretch where I'm about to really get into our in season creative. And I'm excited about it for sure, but I'm like I'm stressed because it's like it's grind time and you got to start creating stuff from scratch. Where your idea is going to come from? How are you going to differentiate from what you did last year, but stay on brand? Like it's a lot of that stuff, right? But I think just to talk to the nature, not to get too off topic. I do think I don't want to say I think things are in a good place. I think things were in a much better place before the pandemic, and it's hard to truly quantify like a tangible list of how the pandemic set people back. But it just we talk about this all the time with Zero G. We do feel that way, and you still see those freaking posts of come work at school X for $29,000 or something just absurdly offensive, and it's not just designers; it's running their social, setting up photo shoots, whatever. But
Yeah.
I think the pandemic showed that the amount of hours that are put in versus what the bottom line is from a dollar standpoint just sometimes doesn't make sense. And I think that because there's such a need for what we do across the board, there's a lot of opportunities to be had for those people to get in business for themselves. And I think that that's great. I'll tell you what, when I was furloughed for I don't remember how long it was now, about probably 4.5, 5 months or so. I did a lot of freelance work myself. It was something I never really dabbled in. I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. I really liked it. And I understand the appeal, but it's crazy now how many people are doing it. That it's crazy to me now. The other zero G folks, they don't, they might not agree with me. Um, I still a little bit appreciate just being a part of a team, and working within an organization.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how I've been doing it since God, 2006, for almost 15, 16 years now. So it's just what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think we're all kind of looking to see what's next. Like for the last 3, 4 years, it's kind of all been the same thing, right? Like cool social media graphics. Like, right, like that's kind of the pinnacle. You know what's interesting? One thing I did last week was, and I'm very excited for this weekend. One, because college football is the best sport of all time. Two, I went back and looked at what some of the teams are doing week zero, like Illinois or Nebraska or Florida State. I noticed a lot less graphic usage, which was interesting. I don't know if it's lack of actual personnel. I don't know if it's a shift in um, process. Now, this is a very small sample size,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want that to be like this is where it's headed, right? I'm very excited to see what certain, the normal great brands that we're all used to seeing, like what they're going to be doing. But frankly, yes, there are some insanely recognizable brands, and those folks do a really, really great job with it. But like, how much now, Jared? My question is how much now is what we're doing moving the needle? I think we had a much more profound effect. I'm kind of using college football. I think to me, sports branding where it's at now, I think college football, because of the effect it has on recruiting, is and it's let's be serious, it's been competitive with everyone that's been in the college football game.
Mm-hmm.
You have a chip on your shoulder. Like if you get a good recruit, you feel like you have a hand in that. You're the one doing their personal designs. You're the one putting out this stuff that you think these young kids want to see. So you have like it's a competition almost, right? That's why we're in sports, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of want that cutthroat
Yeah,
environment, right?
for
But
sure.
um, I don't know how much of an effect it's having anymore. And I'm just kind of just talking on my ass on that one. I don't really have
It's a good thing
a,
to bring up, though.
but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have any evidence of it. But I think the conversation needs to be had is we all are, there's a ton of talent out there. How do we as a community take the next step into getting back kind of that I don't want to say like the control that we had, because I'm going to be honest with you, man, like there was a time, and to this day there still is, that I think that we let egos get in the way too much. Hey, we all have a goddamn Twitter fight. Let's be serious. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have blood running through your veins. Like I can't. I wouldn't. Me personally, like if I was ever hiring someone, I saw you involved, that not a chance in hell I would hire you. I think that I don't. You're representative of your team organization. Like I think some of us we put ourselves, and I'm guilty of it too. I think we kind of all are to a certain extent, because you have to promote yourself, right? But I think sometimes it got to a point where it got so competitive that we put ourselves in front of like the brand, and
Mm-hmm.
that seems to have curtailed a little bit, which I'm actually good. I think that's important. But it goes back to what I was saying. Like, man, there, there's a very big influence on what we did. Like, we were responsible for these things. Like, we're the ones creating it, and like as a creator yourself, like I will always, like, for those that don't understand what the creative process is like and never will, like I'm always gonna look at you like a little bit less. I'm sorry. Like it's people don't understand. So I was just at a conference on Tuesday for Delaware North is the large conglomerate that owns the Bruins. That's why it's very corporate. We're fortunate enough to have a retreat in Buffalo. It's where the headquarters is on Tuesday. And this the creative director from Pepsi talked to us, and he said something just so simple that you got to remind yourself of. And he just goes, "Creating something from nothing is fucking hard," and it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think some dude. I've When I get in creative ruts, and I'm in one right now, which is not a good time for it. I'll tell you that much. It
Gosh.
never is, especially right now. Like it's it's you can't explain it to someone that doesn't get it. You
Mm-hmm.
really can't. You cannot. It's different. It's a personable. It's a personal feeling that everyone interprets themselves, has to get out of that funk on their own in their own way. But creating stuff is hard, man. And what I see out there now, I'm blown away every day. I'm like, damn, there's just so much talent out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's become almost like the standard has almost become so high that it's like, what's differentiating each other's brands, and how is it having a positive influence or effect on those teams that you're working for? I don't have an answer. I think that's, to me, where we're at right now. And is it, do you take a turn into Web3 or NFTs? Like, yeah, I've seen some folks do that, but like, it's not this. I wouldn't say right now that's the standard. We could be having a very different conversation in 18 months. Like, we all know
Mm-hmm.
how quickly this stuff changes, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the industry is in an okay spot, but those are the questions I like to kind of ask myself. And I do I'll be honest with you, for a mental health standpoint, I try and reduce my social media intake, and it helps, man. I'm telling you. Because it's dude,
I should take a page out of that book because I like live
well,
on social.
it's all good. Well, listen, man. Hey, listen, you're 20, like we're in a little bit of a different age bracket, right? You're 23 years old. Like you're I don't want to say that you're supposed to be, but like, I'm telling you, you should try it. Like it's and see, you might hate it. You're like, screw this. It's not serving you well. If that's the case, then fine. But I'm not as active as I used to be. because I felt like I had to always be present and always selling myself and always like putting something out there. And I sometimes still get those feelings. I did a nonsense Michigan football design today. I'm like, I got to do something. Like I haven't done anything for myself in a while, and it felt good. I felt
Mm-hmm.
great. And I still get those feelings from time to time. But I guess I just kind of ask myself what what do we represent right now as a community? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's kind of a hard question to answer.
It is. I agree. I do agree. Well, Mark, I mean, we've talked a lot. Talked about
Unfortunately,
a
that kind of
lot.
like ends on a negative note, so I apologize for that. But
Well, no,
hopefully not.
it's a good thing to kind of end on because it's going to make people think a little bit, especially if
Yeah,
they're, deep into it, and deep into the community and deep into what they're involved in. It's going to make them think a little bit and hopefully drive direction a little bit differently and think about some more things than you know.
I'm I am very curious as to what people think. Like, what will our lives look like in 5 years? Because if I
Mm-hmm.
think about what I was doing 5 years ago, it's different. Not terribly different, but a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just think that things do happen so quickly now, and you have to really be on the, if you're not first, you're last, and things fall off super quickly. And the NIL era I know is going to change things drastically in terms of what your focus is on. And I'm removed from that now. And kind of thankfully, right? As curious as I am about it and excited to see what things it might lead to, maybe that is the future. Maybe, those are the types of things our focus is on.
Mm-hmm.
And that for better or for worse, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm curious to hear what other people think about that. I think that would be a good topic for when we maybe have our next little town hall. And how do we, what do we represent, and how do we try and just make the positive changes that we're all used to doing?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, for the listeners, go down below. I didn't do this. I'm probably going to put a little spot in the middle of the podcast, but probably when we take our little break. Go down below, connect with Mark, connect with Zero G. I mean, you've heard enough about the people that are involved. That probably if you have questions, just reach out to these people. Ask questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's only way you learn, only way you become a little bit better. Asking questions, learning a little bit more about the industry, and listen. Obviously, when you do put that link up for that Zoom, that conversation that you guys had
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, I'll definitely be pushing it because it was something
Cool.
that it was a good thing to fit in like a lunch break as well. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long, so
Yeah.
it was really good content to kind of take in, and it
Good.
was considerable content as well. It wasn't like just talking about nonsense. It was talking about something that's pretty significant within the
Yeah.
industry.
We don't want it to be a bitch sesh, like event sesh, because
Mm-hmm.
we can all have those on our own. Like that in the end, it's not really that conducive to anything positive. We
Mm-hmm.
all need to do it. But yeah, I think I'd love to just get more people involved in just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's story and everyone's jobs are different and unique, and you can always learn, just even if you learn one little thing from something or somebody, it can go such a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So
For sure. Well, Mark, I thank you for taking the time out of your day today to hop on. I know there was a slight time difference here, only an hour, but
we
sometimes that
go.
can make a big difference. But again, I thank you for hopping on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
For the
Yeah, man.
listeners, we will see you in episode, what is it, episode 14 today, so 15 next week. Thank you for coming out and listening, and as always, make sure you tell someone that you love them. All right, we'll see you next episode. Take it easy. Peace.